Ready. Let's switch this over. You guys hear me okay? It's doing that thing where I can't hear myself anymore. Again. Okay. Let me know if the music is too loud. We're gonna finish our book. Sorry that I'm late. I've been having the worst time waking up, like doing everything has been hard. Seriously though, it's kind of been ridiculous. And like my hair's growing out and all weird and trying to get it to do anything. It's just been like that. Hi, welcome in. Thanks for being here. I love your name, Flutie Pebbles. It's fun. Welcome in. We're going to do some reading today. We're going to finish our book club book that we've been putting off finishing. So I'm excited. No worries. Thanks for being here. I love it. Oh my God, that makes sense. That's such a fun name. Clever. Thanks for being here. I love that. But yeah, we've been reading The Princess Bride. And now we're about to finish it. What am I doing? Let me find it. Get it ready. Yeah. So we were like less than 50 pages away from finishing the freaking book, you guys. And we have the vote up for the next book. I actually don't think I've voted yet for the next book. I'll go do that right now. I've just been trying to hold off until everyone else has voted, but let's vote for the book of the month, what we're going to read next. If you haven't joined our Discord yet, Katie, here's our Discord link so you can join and get in on all the fun. I'm gonna be on hiatus for a little while we move, but after our move, I will be back and doing more things, but we're still gonna have stuff going on while I'm not on stream. We've got a talent show, actually, if you want to join in on the talent show that's gonna be happening. It's on April 1st. So yeah, I'm excited about that. I don't want to spoil surprises for what other things are going to happen, so I'm going to just keep my mouth shut. This is also a 420 friendly stream, just so I make sure to let you know in case there are any baby ears nearby. I'm not very child rated. Also, I put on farming ASMR for our background today because it's like one of the only things that my YouTube doesn't just suddenly stop playing and start skipping videos and shit for some reason. Cleaning this out, we're gonna do a little Dabaruski and then we'll start reading. I won another contest for work when it came to selling some goodies, and so I got some free goodies, which is pretty cool. So yeah, this is one of the goodies that I got. Okay. I'm gonna need to get a new rig soon here. My cord keeps getting tangled and it keeps like getting tight. It's very annoying. Oh yeah, that's the stuff. Okay. Whoa. Oh my god, made my whole desk shake. All right. Okay. Jesus. Okay. So, to do some recap, Wesley has been temporarily revived from the dead to help save Buttercup from marrying the prince. Okay? The prince thought that Wesley is dead. But in the process of disposing of Wesley's body, the albino who had been taking care of the whole situation got knocked out by Inigo and Fezzik, who were finding Wesley to help solve essentially this massive problem. And so they were able to find Wesley after doing like 5 levels of trials and tribulations and booby traps, almost dying like multiple times. So they found him. He was dead, and they were like, shit, what do we do? So they took him to the witch doctor. The witch doctor, they had to then convince him that it was worth it for him to come back to life and for the witch doctor to do his work again. So they finally convinced him, and the witch doctor made the special pill that like revived Wesley, but it's only for like 40 minutes. And they needed an hour, and it's taking like a good amount of time just to even wake him up. You better not bother her. If Fern Luna like is finally enjoying something, if he bothers her, I'm gonna be so bummed out. Hi Wayne, welcome. Oh my goodness. But yeah, so they were waking Wesley up, trying to get him prepared for what the fuck is about to go down, because it's gonna be crazy from here on out. We're going to the peak battle scenes of it all right now. So okay, let's see. So yeah, they were starting to get Wesley moving, and they were going to get the wheelbarrow because he was so slow that they're like, we need to put you in a wheelbarrow. Because they don't need him to fight as much as they need his brain to help them figure out what to do and how to save Buttercup. And how Inigo can kill the Count, who is the 6-fingered man who killed his dad. So there's a lot of timelines coming together all at once. All right, that's the recap. So they were on their way to go get the wheelbarrow, and it changes now to Buttercup's POV. Buttercup, for her part, felt no excitement whatsoever. She had, in fact, never remembered such a wonderful feeling of calm. Her Wesley was coming. That was her world. Ever since the prince had dragged her to her room, she had spent the intervening hours thinking of ways to make Wesley happy. There was no way he could miss stopping her wedding. That was the only thought that could survive the trip across her conscious mind. So when she heard the wedding was to be moved up, she wasn't the least upset. Wesley was always prepared for contingencies, and he could rescue her at 6. If he could rescue her at 6, he could just as happily rescue her at 5:30. Actually, Prince Humperdinck got things going even faster than he had hoped. It was 5:23 when he and his bride-to-be were kneeling before the aged Archdean of Florin. It was 5:24 when the Archdean started to speak, and 5:25 when the screaming started outside the main gate. I just realized I did not start recording. I'm probably going to end up having to use the freaking Twitch recording this time. Okay, so Buttercup only smiled softly. Here comes my Wesley now, was all she thought. It was not, in point of fact, her Wesley that was causing the commotion out front. Wesley was doing all he could to simply walk straight down the incline toward the main gate without help. Ahead of him, Inigo struggled with the heavy wheelbarrow. The reason for its weight was that Fezzik stood in it, arms wide, eyes blazing, voice booming in terrible rage. I am the dread pirate Roberts, and there will be no survivors. He said that over and over, his voice echoing, reverberating as his rage increased. He was standing there, gliding down through the darkness, quite an imposing figure, seeming, all in all, probably close to 10 feet tall, with a voice to match. But even that was not enough. But even that was not the cause of the screaming. Yellen, from his position by the gate, was reasonably upset at the roaring giant gliding down toward them through the darkness. Okay, it's gonna run the ads. I held them off as long as I could, so let's run the ad. I'll sit here and sip my coffee and take a dab for a second, and then we'll keep reading so that you guys don't miss anything. Piss me off, man. All right. I mean, I've only been live for like 10 minutes or so it's just really frustrating that they already are trying to run ads. No, I can tell what he's about to do. He's about to kick her out. Let's go. I have to take a picture really quick. Yes. Drop my phone, of course. You guys don't understand, though. This is a big deal. They do not sit next to each other, really. And Fern always just, like, kicks her out of the top one so that he can sit up there. And they don't sit in the bottom one, even though there's two. So I just made him go in there, and now they're chilling. This does not happen. He's actually sitting there, like, wagging his little tail. And she's chilling and looking outside. It's all too good to be true. Okay. We'll get back to it now. Now that we've run some ads and resolved cat conflicts. I'm gonna send a picture of the picture that I took of them to Gabe, too. Woo! All right. Them sitting together peacefully in any sense is amazing. I'm so happy right now. All right, so before we were so rudely interrupted by Twitch in their desperation to run ads, Fezzik and Inigo and Wesley were, I think, charging the men at the front of the gate to infiltrate and stop the wedding. So, Yellen, from his position by the gate, was reasonably upset at the roaring giant gliding down toward them through the darkness. Not that he doubted his 100 men could dispatch the giant. The upsetting thing was that, of course, the giant would be aware of that too, and logically there must be somewhere in the dimness out there be any number of giant helpers. Other pirates, anything. Who could tell? Still, his men held together remarkably staunchly. It was only when the giant got halfway down the incline that he suddenly, happily burst into flame and continued his trip saying, "No survivors! No survivors!" in a manner that could only indicate deadly sincerity. It was seeing him happily burning and advancing that started the brute squad to screaming. What? And once that happened, why, everybody panicked and ran. Chapter 8, The Honeymoon. Oh shit. Once the panic was well underway, Yellen realized he had next to no chance of bringing things immediately under control. Besides, the giant was terribly close now, and the roar of no survivors made it very hard to do any solid thinking. But fortunately, he had the sense to grab the one and only key to the castle and hide it on his person. Fortunately, too, Wesley had the sense to look for such behavior. "Give me the key," Wesley said to Yellen, once Inigo had his sword securely pressuring Yellen's Adam's apple. Jesus. "I have no key," Yellen replied. "I swear on the grave of my parents, may my mother's soul forever sizzle in torment if I am lying." Oh my god. Wow, that's terrible. "Tear his arms off," Wesley said to Fezzik, who was sizzling a bit himself now, because there was a limit as to just how long a Holocaust cloak was really good for. And he wanted to strip a bit, but before he did that, he reached for Yellen's arms. "This key, you mean?" Yellen said, and he dropped it, and after Inigo had taken his sword, they let him run away. "Open the gate," Wesley said to Fezzik. "I'm so hot," Fezzik said. "Can I please take this thing off first?" And after Wesley's nod, he pulled the flaming cloak away and left it on the ground, then unlocked the gate and pulled the door open enough for them to slip through. "Lock it and keep the key, Fezzik," Wesley said. "It must be after 5:30 by now. Half an hour left to stop the wedding." Uh-oh. "What do we do after we win?" Fezzik said, working with the key, forcing the great lock to close. "Where should we meet? I'm the kind of fellow who needs instructions." Before Wesley could answer, Inigo cried out and readied his sword. Count Rugen and 4 palace guards were rounding a corner and running toward them. The time was 5:34. The wedding itself did not end until 5:31, and Humperdinck had to use all of his persuasive abilities to get even that much accomplished. As the screaming from outside the gate burst all bounds of propriety, the prince interrupted the archdeacon with gentlest manner and said, "Holiness, my love is simply overpowering my ability to wait. Please skip on down to the end of the service." The time was then 5:27. "Humperdinck and Buttercup," the archdeacon said, "I'm very old and my thoughts on marriage are few, but I feel I must give them to you on this most happy of days." In parentheses, the archdeacon could hear absolutely nothing and had been so afflicted since he was 85 or so. The only actual change that had come over him in the past years was that, for some reason, his impediment had gotten worse. "Marriage," he said, "very old." Unless you paid strict attention to his title and past accomplishments, it was very hard to take him seriously. Oh my God. Marriage! The Archdeacon began. Again, Holiness, I interrupt in the name of love. Please hurry along as best you can to the end. Oh my God. Marriage is a dream within a dream. Buttercup was paying little attention to the goings-on. Wesley must be racing down the corridors now. He always ran so beautifully. Even back on the farm, long before she knew her heart, it was good to watch him run. Count Rugen was the only other person in the room, and the commotion at the gate had him on edge. Outside the door, he had his 4 best swordsmen, so no one could enter the tiny chapel, but still, there were a lot of people screaming, where the brute squad should have been. The 4 guards were the only ones left inside the castle, for the prince needed no spectators to the events that were soon to happen. If only the idiotic cleric would speed things along. It was already 5:29. Oh my God, this is going to be hard. The dweam of Wov wapped within the greater dweam of everlasting west. Eternity is our friend. Remember that. And Wov will follow you forever. It was 5:30 when the prince stood up and approached the Archdeacon firmly. Man and wife, he shouted. Man and wife, say that. I'm not there yet, the Archdeacon answered. That's the most normal thing he's even said, also. You just arrived, the prince replied. Now. Buttercup could picture Wesley rounding the final corner. There were 4 guards outside waiting. At 10 seconds per guard, she began figuring, but then stopped, because numbers had always been her enemy. She looked down at her hands. Oh, I hope he still thinks I'm pretty, she thought. Those nightmares took a lot out of her. Man and wife, you're man and wife, the Archdeacon said. Uh-oh. Thank you, Holiness, the prince said, whirling toward Rugen. Stop that commotion, he commanded, and before his words were finished, the count was running for the chapel door. It was 5:31. It took a full 3 minutes for the count and the guards to reach the gate. And when they did, the count could not believe it. He had seen Wesley killed, and now there was Wesley. And with the giant and a strangely scared, swarthy fellow. Something about the twin scars banked deep into his memory, but now was not the time for reminiscing. Kill them, he said to the fencers, but leave the middle-sized one until I tell you. And the 4 guards drew their swords. But too late and too slow, because as Fezzik moved in front of Wesley, Inigo attacked, the great blade blinding, and the 4th guard was dead before the first one had sufficient time to hit the floor. Jesus. Inigo stood still a moment, panting. Then he made a half turn in the direction of Count Rugen and executed a quick and well-formed bow. Hello, he said. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. In reply, the Count did a genuinely remarkable and unexpected thing. He turned and ran. It was now 5:37. King Lothron and Queen Bella arrived at the wedding chapel in time to see Count Rugen leading the 4 guards in a charge down the corridor. Are we too early? Queen Bella said, as they entered the wedding chapel and found Buttercup and Humperdinck and the Archdeacon. There is much going on, the prince said. All in due time will come matchlessly clear. But I fear there is a strong possibility that, at this very moment, the Gildarians are attacking. I need time alone in the garden to formulate my battle plans. So could I prevail upon you two to personally escort Buttercup to my bedchamber? His request was naturally granted. The prince hurried off then, and after one stop to unlock a closet and remove several pairs of boots that had once belonged to Gildarian soldiers, he hurried outside. Buttercup, for her part, walked very slowly and peacefully between the old king and queen. There was no need ever to worry, not with Wesley there to stop her wedding and take her away forever. The truth of her situation did not take genuine effect until she was halfway to Humperdinck's room. There was no Wesley. No sweet Wesley. He had not seen fit to come for her. She gave a terrible sigh, not so much of sadness as of farewell. Once she got to Humperdinck's room, it would all be done. He had a splendid collection of swords and cutlery. She had never seriously contemplated suicide before. Oh, of course, she'd thought about it. Every girl does from time to time. What? Oh, we're not just gonna normalize that. What? I'm so fucking shocked by that. I need a second to recover. Hey, welcome in. We're finishing the book. What are you doing? You better not be trying to chase Luna. Okay. Yeah, more Buttercup making bad choices. We just said, well, first of all, the wedding just happened. And Wesley hasn't saved her yet. And this is what she said. She had never seriously contemplated suicide before. Trigger warning. Oh, of course, she'd thought about it. Every girl does from time to time. Huh? Oh. But never seriously. To her quiet surprise, she found it was going to be the easiest thing in the world. She reached the prince's chamber, said goodnight to the royal family, and went directly to the wall display of weaponry. The time was then 5:46. Good God, this is going to be bad. Inigo, at 5:37, was so startled at the count's cowardice that for a moment he simply just stood there. Then he gave chase, and of course he was faster, but the count made it through a doorway, slammed and locked it, and Inigo was helpless to budge the thing. Fezzik, he called out desperately. Fezzik, break it down. No worries, thank you for stopping by. But Fezzik was with Wesley. That was his job, to stay and protect Wesley. And though they were still within view of Inigo, Fezzik could do nothing. Wesley had already started to walk, slowly, weakly, but he was, under his own power, walking. Charge it, Fezzik replied. Slam your shoulder hard. It will give for you. Inigo charged the door. He slammed and slammed his shoulder, but he was thin, the door otherwise. He's getting away from me, Inigo said. But Wesley is helpless, Fezzik reminded him. Fezzik, I need you, Inigo screamed. I'll only be a minute, Fezzik said, because there were some things you did no matter what, and when a friend needed help, you helped them. Damn, then go, Fezzik. Oh my God. Wesley nodded, kept on walking, still slowly, still weak, but still able to move. Hurry, Inigo urged. Fezzik hurried. He lumbered to the locked door, threw his bulk against it hard. The door held. Please, Inigo urged. I'll get it, Fezzik promised, and he took a few steps back this time, and then drove his shoulder against the wood. The door gave some, a little, but not enough. Fezzik backed away from it now. With a roar, he charged across the corridor. and when he was close, he left the castle floor with both feet, and the door splintered. Thank you, Inigo said, already halfway through the broken door. What do I do now? Fezzik called. Back to Wesley, Inigo answered, in full flight now, beginning chasing through a series of rooms. Stupid, Fezzik punished himself with, and he turned and rejoined Wesley. Only Wesley was no longer there. Fezzik could feel the panic starting inside him. There were half a dozen possible corridors. Which? Fezzik said, trying to figure it out. Trying for once in his life to do something right. You'll pick the wrong one knowing you, he said out loud. And then he took a corridor and started hurrying along it as fast as he could. He did pick the wrong one. Wesley was alone now. Inigo was gaining. He could see, instant to instant, flashes of the fleeing noble in the next room. And when he reached that place, the Count would have made it into the room beyond. But each time, Inigo was gaining. By 5:40, he felt confident he would, after a chase of 25 years, be alone in a room with his revenge. By 5:48, Buttercup felt quite sure she would be dead. It was still a minute before that, as she stood staring at the prince's knives. The most lethal looked to be the one most used, the Florinese dagger. Pointed at one end, it entered easily, growing into a triangular shape by the hilt. For quicker bleeding, it was said. They were made in varying sizes, and the prince's looked to be one of the largest, being wrist thick where it joined the handle. She pulled it from the wall and put it to her heart. Oh God, this is so not going well. There are always too few perfect breasts in this world. Leave yours alone, she heard. What? What? That's what he has to say? Not like, stop, my love. He's like, no, don't hurt your perfect boobs. I'm so annoyed right now. There are always too few perfect breasts in this world. Leave yours alone, she heard. And there was Wesley on the bed. It was 5:48, and she knew that she would never die. Wesley, for his part, assumed he had till 6:15 for his hour to be up. That was, of course, when an hour was up. Only he didn't have an hour. Only 40 minutes. Till 5:55, actually. 7 minutes more. But, as had been said, he had no way of knowing that. And Inigo had no way of knowing that Count Rugen had a Florinese dagger, or that he was expert with the thing. It took Inigo until 5:41 before he actually cornered the Count. In a billiard room. Hello, he was about to say. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Okay, you gotta stop saying your name over and over. You just gotta do it. What he actually got out was somewhat less. Hello, my name is Inigo. And then the dagger rearranged his insides. Oh no. The force of the throw sent him staggering backward into the wall. The rush of blood weakened him so quickly he could not keep his feet. Domingo, he whispered, and then he was, at 42 minutes after 5, lost on his knees. Buttercup was baffled by Wesley's behavior. She rushed to him, expecting to be met halfway in a wild embrace. Instead, he only smiled at her and remained where he was, lying on the prince's pillows, a sword beside his body. Buttercup continued the journey alone and fell onto her very one and darling Wesley. Gently, he said. At a time like this, that's all you can think to say? Gently. Gently, Wesley repeated, not so gently this time. She got off him. Are you angry at me for getting married? She wondered. You are not married, he said softly, strange his voice was. Not in my church or any other. But this old man did pronounce. Widows happen every day, don't they, Your Highness? And now his voice was stronger as he addressed the prince, who entered, muddy boots in hand. Prince Humperdinck dove for his weapons, and a sword flashed in his thick hands. To the death, he said, advancing. Wesley gave a soft shake of his head. No, he corrected, to the pain. It was an odd phrase, and for the moment it brought the prince up short. Besides, why was the fellow just lying there? Where was the trap? I don't think I quite understand that. Wesley lay without moving, but he was smiling more deeply now. I'll only be too delighted to explain. It was 5:50 now. 25 minutes of safety left. In parentheses. There were 5. He did not know that. How could he know that? Slowly, carefully, he began to talk. This is painfully slow ending. Like, they literally are making us go minute by minute, and it's driving me fucking nuts. Inigo was talking too. It was still 5:42 when he whispered, I'm sorry, Father. Count Rugen heard the words, but nothing really connected until he saw the sword still held in Inigo's hand. You're that little Spanish brat I taught a lesson to, he said, coming closer now, examining the scars. It's simply incredible. Have you been chasing me all these years only to fail now? I think that's the worst thing I've ever heard of. How marvelous. Inigo could say nothing. The blood fauceted from his stomach. Count Rugen drew his sword. Sorry, Father, I'm sorry. I don't want your sorry. My name is Domingo Montoya, and I died for that sword. And you can keep your sorry. If you were going to fail, why didn't you die years ago and let me rest in peace? And then Macpherson was after him too. Spaniards. I never should have tried to teach a Spaniard. They're dumb, they forget. What do you do with a wound? How many times did I teach you? What do you do with a wound? Cover it, Inigo said, and he pulled the knife from his body and stuffed his left fist into the bleeding. Inigo's eyes began to focus again. Not well, not perfectly, but enough to see the Count's blade as it approached his heart. And Inigo couldn't do much with the attack. Parry it vaguely, push the point of the blade into his left shoulder where it did no unendurable harm. Count Rugen was a bit surprised that his point had been deflected, but there was nothing wrong with piercing a helpless man's shoulder. There was no hurry when you had him. Macpherson was screaming again. Spaniards, give me a Polack any time. At least the Polacks remember to use the wall when they have one. Only the Spaniards would forget how to use a wall. Slowly, inch by inch, Inigo forced his body up the wall, using his legs just for pushing, letting the wall do all the supporting that was necessary. Count Rugen struck again, but for any number of reasons, most probably because he hadn't expected the other man's movement, he missed the heart and had to be content with driving his blade through the Spaniard's left arm. Inigo didn't mind. He didn't even feel it. His right arm was where his interest lay, and he squeezed the handle, and there was strength in his hand, enough to flick out at the enemy. And Count Rugen hadn't expected that either, so he gave a little involuntary cry and took a step back to reassess the situation. Power was flowing up from Inigo's heart to his right shoulder, and down from his shoulder to his fingers, and then into the great six-finger sword. And he pushed off from the wall then with the whispered, Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. And they crossed swords. The Count went for the quick kill, the inverse Bonetti. No chance. Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Again they crossed. and the Count moved into a Morozo defense because the blood was still streaming. Inigo shoved his fist deeper into himself. Oh my god. Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. The Count retreated around the billiard table. Inigo slipped in his own blood. The Count continued to retreat, waiting. Sorry, I just got a wave of nausea, so I have to sit for a second, drink some water. Okay. All right. Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. He dug with his fist. He didn't want to think what he was touching and pushing and holding into place, but for the first time he felt able to try and move. So the six-fingered sword flashed forward. And then there was a cut down one side of Count Rugen's cheek. Another flash. Another cut, parallel, bleeding. Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Stop saying that! The Count was beginning to experience a decline of nerve. Inigo drove the Count's left shoulder, as the Count had wounded his. Then he went through the Count's left arm, at the same spot the Count had penetrated his. Hello! Stronger now. Hello! Hello! My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. No! Offer me money. Everything, the Count said. Power too. Promise me that. All I have and more, please. Offer me anything I ask for. Yes, say it. I want Domingo Montoya, you son of a bitch. And then the six-fingered sword flashed again. The Count screamed. That was just to the left of your heart. Inigo struck again. Another scream. That was below your heart. Can you guess what I'm doing? Cutting my heart out. You took mine when I was 10. I want yours now. We are lovers of justice, you and I. What could be more just than that? The Count screamed one final time, then fell dead of fear. Inigo looked down at him. The Count's frozen face was petrified and ashen, and the blood still poured down the parallel cuts. His eyes bulged wide, full of horror and pain. It was glorious, if you like that kind of thing. Inigo loved it. It was 5:50 when he staggered from the room, heading he knew not where or for how long, but hoping only that whoever had been guiding him lately would not desert him now. Okay, now we're back to Wesley, who doesn't know that he has 5 minutes of his life left. My God. I'm going to tell you something once, and then whether you die or not is strictly up to you, Wesley said, lying pleasantly on the bed. Across the room, the prince held the sword high. What I'm going to tell you is this. Drop your sword, and if you do, then I will leave with this baggage here. He glanced at Buttercup. And you will be tied up but not fatally, and will soon be free to go about your business. And if you choose to fight, well, then we will not both leave alive. I expect to breathe a while, the prince said. I think you are bluffing. You have been prisoner for months, and I myself killed you less than a day ago, so I doubt that you have much might left in your arm. Possibly true, Wesley agreed. And when the moment comes, remember that I might indeed be bluffing. I could, in fact, be lying right here because I lack the strength to stand. All that, weigh carefully. You are only alive now because you said, to the pain. I want that phrase explained. My pleasure. It was 5:52 now. 3 minutes left. He thought he had 18. He took a long pause, then started speaking. Ugh, this is killing me. Surely you must have guessed I am no ordinary sailor. I am, in fact, Roberts himself. I am, in fact, not the least surprised or awed. To the pain means this. If we duel and you win, death for me. If we duel and I win, life for you, but life on my terms. Meaning, it could all still be a trap. His body was at the ready. There are those who credit you with skill as a hunter, though I find that doubtful. The prince smiled. This fellow was baiting him. Why? If you hunt well, then surely when you tracked your lady, you must have begun at the cliffs of insanity. A duel was fought there, and if you noted the movements and the strides, you would know that those were masters battling. They were. Remember this. I won that fight, and I am a pirate. We have our special tricks with swords. It was 5:53. I'm not unfamiliar with steel. The first thing you lose will be your feet, Wesley said. The left, then the right, below the ankle. You will have stumps available to use within 6 months. Then your hands at the wrist. They heal somewhat quicker. 5 months is a fair average. And now Wesley was beginning to be aware of strange changes in his body, and he began talking faster and louder. Next, your nose, no smell of dawn for you, followed by your tongue, deeply cut away, not even a stump left. And then your left eye. And then my right eye, and then my ears, and shall we get on with it? The prince said. It was 5:54. I'm gonna fucking strangle the author of this book. Like, this is rage bait for real. Wrong! Wesley's voice rang across the room. Your ears you keep, so that every shriek of every child at seeing your hideousness will be yours to cherish. Every babe that weeps in fear at your approach. Every woman that cries, "Dear God, what is that thing?" will reverberate forever with your perfect ears. That is what to the pain means. It means that I leave you to live in anguish, in humiliation, in freakish misery, until you can stand it no more. So there you have it, pig. There you know, you miserable, vomitous mass. And I say this now, and live or die, it's up to you. Drop your sword. The sword crashed to the floor. It was 5:55. Wesley's eyes rolled up into his head, and his body crumpled and half-pitched from the bed. And the prince saw that, and went to the floor, grabbing for a sword, standing, staring to bring it high, when Wesley cried out, "Now you will suffer, to the pain." His eyes were open again, open and blazing. "I'm sorry, I meant nothing, I didn't look." And the prince dropped his sword a second time. "Tie him," Wesley said to Buttercup. "Be quick about it. Use the curtain sashes, they look enough to hold him." "You do it so much better," Buttercup replied. "I'll get the sashes, but I really think you should do the actual tying." "Woman," Wesley roared, "you are the property of the dread pirate Roberts, and you do what you're told." Jesus. Buttercup gathered the sashes and did what she could with tying up her husband. Humperdinck lay flat while she did it. He seemed strangely happy. "I wasn't afraid of you," he said to Wesley. "I dropped my sword because it will be so much more pleasant for me to hunt you down." "You think so, do you? I doubt you'll find us." "Conquer Gilder, and then I'll come for you. The corner you least expect, when you round it, you will find me waiting." "I am the king of the sea. I await you with pleasure," he called out to Buttercup. "Is he tied yet?" "Sort of." There was movement at the doorway, and then Inigo was there. Buttercup cried out at the blood. Inigo ignored her and looked around. "Where's Fezzik?" "Isn't he with you?" Wesley said. Inigo leaned for a moment against the nearest wall, gathering strength. Then he said, "Help him up," to Buttercup. "Wesley," Buttercup replied. "Why does he need me to help him?" "Because he has no strength. Now do what you're told," Inigo said. And then suddenly on the floor, the prince began struggling mightily with the sashes, and and he was tied, and tied well, but power and anger were both on his side. You were bluffing. I was right the first time, Humperdinck said, and Inigo said, that was not a clever thing of me to let slip. I'm sorry. And Wesley said, did you at least win your battle? And Inigo said, I did. And Wesley said, let us try to find some place to defend ourselves. At least perhaps we can go together. And Buttercup said, I'll help you up, poor darling. And Fezzik said, oh, Inigo, I need you. Please, Inigo, I'm lost and miserable and frightened, and I just need to see a friendly face. They moved slowly to the window. Wandering, lost, and forlorn through the prince's garden was Fezzik, leading the 4 giant whites. Here, Inigo whispered. 3 friendly faces, Fezzik said, kind of bouncing up and down on his heels, which he always did when things were looking up. Oh, Inigo, I just ruined everything and I got so lost, and when I stumbled into the stables and found these pretty horses, I thought 4 was how many of them there were. 4 was how many of us there were, too. If we found the lady, hello, lady, and I thought, why not take them along with me in case we all ever run into each other? He stopped a moment considering, and I guess we did. Inigo was terribly excited. Fezzik, you thought for yourself, he said. Fezzik considered that a moment too. Does that mean you're not mad at me for getting lost? If only we had a ladder, Buttercup began. Oh, you don't need a ladder to get down here, Fezzik said. It's only 20 feet. I'll catch you. Only do it one at a time, please. There's not enough light, so if you all come at me at once, I might miss. So while Humperdinck struggled, they jumped one at a time, and Fezzik caught them gently and put them on the whites. And he still had the key so they could get out the front gate. And except for the fact that Yellen had regrouped the brute squad, they would have gotten out without any trouble at all. As it was, when Fezzik unlocked the gate, they saw nothing but armed brutes in formation, Yellen at their lead, and no one smiling. Wesley shook his head. I am dry of notions. Child's play, of all people, Buttercup said, and she led the group toward Yellen. The Count is dead, the prince is in grave danger. Hurry now, and you may yet save him. All of you, go. Not a brute moved. They obey me, Yellen said, and I am in charge of enforcement and I, Buttercup said. I, she repeated, standing up in the saddle, a creature of infinite beauty and eyes that were starting to grow frightening. I, she said for the 3rd time and last time, am the queen. There was no doubting her sincerity or power or capability for vengeance. She stared imperiously across the brute squad. Save Humperdinck, one brute said, and with that they all dashed into the castle. Save Humperdinck, Yellen said. The last one left, but clearly his heart wasn't in it. Actually, that was something of a fib, Buttercup said as they began to ride off for freedom. Seeing as Lotheron hasn't officially resigned, but I thought I am the queen sounded better than I am the princess. All I can say is I'm impressed, Wesley told her. Buttercup shrugged. I've been going to royalty school 3 years now. Something had to rub off. She looked at Wesley. You all right? I was worried about you back on the bed there. Your eyes rolled up into your head and everything. Oh my God. I suppose I was dying again, so I asked the Lord of permanent affection for the strength to live that day. Clearly, the answer came in the affirmative. I didn't know there was such a fellow, Buttercup said. I'm sorry, I got lost. Okay. Neither did I, in truth. But if he didn't exist, I didn't much want to either. The 4 great horses seemed almost to fly toward Florin Channel. It appears to me as if we're doomed, Buttercup said. Wesley looked at her. Doomed, madam. To be together until one of us dies. I've done that already, and I haven't the slightest intention of ever doing it again, Wesley said. Buttercup looked at him. Don't we sort of have to sometime? Not if we promise to outlive each other, and I make that promise now. Buttercup looked at him. Oh, my Wesley, so do I. From behind them suddenly, closer than they imagined, they could hear the roar of Humperdinck. Stop them! Cut them off! They were admittedly startled, but there was no reason for worry. They were on the fastest horses in the kingdom, and lead was already theirs. However, this was before Inigo's wound reopened, and Wesley relapsed again, and Fezzik took the wrong turn, and Buttercup's horse threw a shoe, and the night behind them was filled with crescendoing sound of pursuit. That was it? That was such an abrupt ending that it genuinely confused me. So it's funny because the author interrupts the happy ending, and then they say, oh yeah, no, just kidding, and then that's where we read this next part that says stop them, and then all of a sudden they take a wrong turn and all these other things go wrong. I think that the ending is just supposed to be that there is just no happy ending. So I guess that's it. I don't really like the ending of the book, honestly. I know you're not supposed to always have the happy ending. Not always supposed to have the whatever. But it's you literally got to the happy ending, and then immediately in the last page and paragraph went, JK, everything went bad again, haha, and then that's the end. That is such a strange move, in my opinion. I don't think I like this writer. I think I might forever have a vendetta against this writer now because of this book. Well, ladies and gentlemen, and gays and days and all the buddies and pals, that was The Princess Bride. That was it, you guys. By William Goldman. So, okay. Now we need to pick our next book. We only have 3 votes on the actual poll. So if you haven't voted yet in Discord, please vote so that it can help us figure out what we're going to read next. We've got some good options. We had some people throw out some stuff. I threw some stuff in there. We've got some kind of smutty, sexy books that people want to read. We've got some kind of cool, futuristic mystery kind of books. And then we've got also Braiding Sweetgrass, which is a really good book about plants and spirituality and science. So we've got some good options, and the poll is going to be open for the next 5 days. So please, 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 please help us vote. I've also included all of the book covers in the book club channel so that you can see the actual books and what they look like. Remember that if we read a book and we can bring these same options back and new suggestions in for the book after this too. So we can have a chance to read the book that you want to read. So please, please, please go vote so that we can get that done. We're having a talent show on the 1st. It's a Discord talent show. So it will be in Discord in the Bean Theater. It's Discord only, so You can only be a part of it if you are part of the Discord server and you are in the Discord server so that you can see it and enjoy it. All talents are welcome. It doesn't have to be anything impressive. It can be hilarious. It can be goofy. Just reach out to a moderator to let them know that you're interested and what your talent is, and we will make sure to add you to the list. Trying to think if there's anything else that I need to talk about while I'm here. Yeah, we're gonna play some Stardew in a couple hours, actually. I was hoping that I would finish this so that I did have a little bit of a break between that stream and this stream. So at 12, I'm gonna hop back on and we're gonna play some Stardew Valley. And then actually at 12, I also will announce what our movie night will be, because we're doing movie night a day early this week. So movie night is tonight instead of tomorrow, because tomorrow we have busy plans. We're going to Comic-Con this weekend. We're doing cosplay. It's a lot. So make sure if you want to watch a movie with us and you want to vote, also in the Discord, in our movie and shows channel, you can get your vote in there on what you want to watch. So far, we are at a tie, so we need some tiebreakers. So if you haven't voted yet, please go be our tiebreaker. Otherwise, we'll have to do a sudden death vote. And that might result in just a random choice if nobody votes in time. So, okay, guys, I'll see you in a couple hours. Thanks for being here. And also, just make sure I proper announce book clubs will still keep going while I'm on hiatus while we move. They are going to take place in, we might make a call channel or a voice channel for the book club. And Squonk has volunteered to help read the book so that I can focus on moving. So you'll get to hang out with Squonk. I will probably be there listening as well. And we will read together privately instead of on Twitch, because all of this is going to have to get packed up very soon. So hiatus starts on the 15th of this month, and I might be gone until like May 15th. But like I said, be a part of our Discord. You're going to know everything that's happening. Our talent show, our other surprises, wink, 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 that I don't want to give away for April. And then our game nights that are going to be happening. We're going to keep doing peak nights. Going to keep the game channel open for everyone. If you want to play Fortnite, if you want to play whatever, like, just throw it out there. Say, hey, anyone down to game? We're going to be keeping that stuff moving. So, see you guys in a little bit. Thank you so much for being here. I love you. Love you big style.